you're having a great week. I wanted to talk to you about the assignment that most of you, some of you turned in, and just talk to you about that, because Converge is about teaching you life skills, things you can use on the job, things that may lead you to a college decision, but we want you to be good at this, right? So you got to do your part. I want to talk to you about this in real world terms, because in the real world, if you are a writer or a journalist and you miss a deadline, you don't get paid. It's just as simple as that. The employer does not care if you had computer problems, if you couldn't get in touch with your subject to ask them a question. What matters is the deadline, because things move on. And if you miss a deadline, it's just not looked at too kindly, okay? So you guys have got some thinking to do to see how engaged you want to be in Converge as you go forward. And I certainly hope each and every one of you stays engaged and just commits to learning, because I think this is going to prove valuable in your life. So I wrote a couple of lessons down that I observed happening on this first one. So was it turned in on time? Some of you run late, and I heard comments that your subject wasn't available, that you had asked them questions and they just wouldn't return your call or your email or your text. There's a lesson in there. If you need somebody to help you complete an article, you better make your ask really early and frequently, because you might write fast and you might put off writing to the last minute, but if you need a comment or information from your source and you can't get them, you're toast. So the lesson there is, when you're interviewing somebody and needing information, you get started really early and you do it frequently. You email them on day 1, then on day 2, then day 3. You email, you text, you call, you do all those things well in advance of your deadline. So I know that's a lesson that some of you certainly can attest to. Don't wait till the last minute, I know what it's like. Honestly, I do it all the time. But with my experience and years at it, I can recover really quickly. But when you wait to the last minute, you're cutting out any buffer for yourself. So I'm just encouraging you to don't procrastinate. Do the job early. When you write, if you just get into this place where you write from how you think and your genuine observations of the subject matter, you'll find that the writing goes really, really quick. So don't procrastinate. Make sure your sources are lined up, because if they're not, you can't recover on the deadline front. So I wrote down a couple other things. You got to make sure your technology is good. If you don't upload, you can't get your assignment in. Again, in real world terms, the employer doesn't care about that. They just know it's on you to get the assignment in. It's also important that you follow instructions. Y'all probably get tired of hearing that at school, but it's true. Like there's document formats, plain text, Word docs, the file formats that we accept. You got to make sure you know how to get your work in the right format. And did you meet the word count? Sometimes people say they're having trouble writing the allotted word count. And if you are, let's say you wrote your article and it's only 300 words, the solution to that is not to take the same thoughts and stretch them out and make your article redundant. If you're falling short, it's kind of a clue to you that you haven't dug deep enough into this subject that you're covering, that you need to use your imagination and think more creatively and look for a story within the story so that you have your word count right. I always say that the article should be as long as it takes to tell the story, okay? So you could argue that if the story is told in 300 words, it's done. You don't need to stretch to 500. But I gave you guys a word count that was very achievable and very right for this assignment. And frankly, you should be able to write 1,500 words about somebody. So if you're finding it difficult to get that word count, it's just a sign that your questions on the front end need to be a little bit more detailed. Your curiosity needs to be piqued up a little bit more, and you need to use your imagination. So word count, very important. Make sure you meet your minimal word count. I'm going to the back page now. Look out. Is there a title? Does your article have a title? Don't turn in something without a title or your name. You got to be proud of your work. If you watched the headline video the other day, the title, it's got to have some zing to it, some creativity, some intrigue to draw in the reader. Your title, you could argue that is the most important part of your work. If people don't make it past your title, they never get to see the brilliance you wrote in the article. So put a lot of time and focus on the title. And of course, put your name on it, man. You want to get credit. You want to have byline. Remember that part of this internship is about you writing work that gets published in Gwinnett Magazine and on the website and in email newsletters. That published work is something that looks really great on your resume, and it's something for you to build from. So when you're writing articles, just imagine that the whole world's going to see it. And I think ultimately the goal is that we put some of your work into this live publication of Gwinnett Magazine. So make it a good title. Make sure you put your name on it. Grammar. Oh, dear Lord. My English teacher, Miss Preston, I swore she had it in for me because grammar was not my thing. I loved creative writing, and I could write a good story, but spelling and grammar was not my thing. But you guys have been, taught and know grammar since first grade on. You just got to make sure that when you turn in an assignment, are you capitalizing what needs to be capitalized? Is it punctuated correctly? Okay, sometimes it's not going to be perfect, but with Grammarly and spell check, there's really no excuse not to have grammar and spelling corrected in the document. You got to pay attention to that. Those things an employer doesn't even want to have to think about. They don't want to have to think that they got to go back to check your grammar. They want to focus all on the story. So watch your grammar, okay? Sometimes when people write and they go creative, they want to use big words, they want to use some fancy word. Surprisingly, even at my age with all my life experience, there are still some commonly used words that I honestly don't know the definition of. I hear them, like I just heard a word like altruistic. Well, I thought I know what it meant, but I'm not quite sure I do. So I'm not going to stick that in a sentence until I'm 100% sure I know what it means. So when you're writing, make sure that you use the right word at the right time. If you're not sure, look it up in a dictionary. Further, when I'm writing, if I want to use a word but I'm not 100% sure of it, I change the word. I write it simpler. So fall on the side of writing simple and being understood rather than choose some sophisticated word that you may not understand the meaning of, and more importantly, your audience may not understand when they read, okay? There's some quality of writing things to focus on. Is your essay informative? Is it organized? Does it repeat itself? Does it have you in it? Remember I said authenticity is really important? I want you to write with an authentic voice and your view on things. So when you write a good story, find your genuine interest in the story and let that shine through your words. So every time you turn in an assignment, we're going to grade and score the assignment and try to pull the lessons out of it. So I hope you take these lessons of not procrastinating, making sure you can get your subject, you can get connected with them before the last minute, making sure you have a title, making sure you follow instructions to meet word count and format. Those are very important things, and I hope you take those lessons and apply them to your next assignment. One other thing, this internship is about teaching, right? In a fun way, donut walls and the pizza wall that I want to put up next. That's my next goal. But also know that next summer in 2020, that we are going to be looking to hire 2 to 3 interns on a paid basis. It'll be a great part-time job, and this Converge program is a proving ground for that. So if you have an interest in journalism, video, photography, storytelling, and you foresee wanting a job in the summer of 2020, make sure you stay on your toes and try to follow instructions, okay? Look forward to seeing you guys next time. I'm soon to post the meeting date that we'll meet again. and I will be updating you on assignments via video on the Facebook page. As always, if you got any questions, got any comments, post them on the Facebook, and we'll get back to you ASAP. Y'all have a great week. Make A's. We'll see you next time.